What's up, guys? On today's episode, we're going to be propagating dahlia tubers.
Don't do it. It looks like a potato.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Expedition Homestead. I hope you are having an incredible day. Here I am, dressed up to get dirty because why the heck not? That's just what I do sometimes. I wanted to make a video on how to propagate and divide your dahlia rhizomes. It's going to be a very simple process, super easy to do, and it just happens to be something that we're focusing on this year for our flower garden. We're going to be dividing up and growing as many dahlia sprouts and tubers as possible. So since I got to do it in the garden, you know the drill. Of course, we're going to make a video on it. The one thing that you will need here is an X-Acto knife or a scissors or a small little pruning shears or something, but the X-Acto knife is what I've found to be ideal for projects like this when dividing dahlias. You want to make sure, obviously we're here in the middle of the winter. How am I dividing my dahlias if it's not spring yet? Well, if your dahlias have been sitting for about 2 to 3 weeks, then you can divide them and propagate them, separate them out and grow more dahlias if you would like. But make sure that they are sitting, if you dug up your dahlias from the ground, that they're sitting in a cold, dark place for about 2 to 3 weeks before you do this. That way they're cured, quote unquote. But after we do that, what we have to do is go through and figure out what we are going to be able to grow off of this and what we're not going to be able to grow. There's a lot of different damaged ones because these were rather large tubers that I had in an area of the yard that had pretty hard soil. But nonetheless, we are still going to harvest a lot of tubers off of this. I'm going to take every one that I can. And then also I want to start growing a couple of different ones that I think have no hope, just to see how far we can push this thing, because that's my take on gardening. If you're not experimenting and pushing the limits or trying something that people don't think would work, then you're not actually a true gardener. I think the gardening culture could overall use a lot more ingenuitive minds or creative minds. So without further ado, let's get to it. So giving you a nice close look, this is what a damaged tuber is going to look like, or one like this that I got with the shovel. This really should have been taken off before I did the curing process. That's the correct way to do it, but heck, it's gonna do fine. But let's get to the good part, and we're gonna start cutting off our first rhizome. That's this tuber right here. As you can see, down at the end of it, it starts to expand a little bit, and you might even see little circles or dots protruding from this. This is the eye of that tuber. We just want to make sure that we get that. So right here, make a cut, and then right there, make a cut. And this is what we are left with. This beautiful little thing is about all it takes to grow a big old set of tubers like this within one season. That's really all it takes. So we're going to continue taking these. I'll give you a couple more examples quick. This nice big one right here, we're just going to chop in again, right by where we see that kind of crowning. Pop that there, going at the other angle sideways. We have to kind of imagine that we're cutting to one single point down in the base of that. Same thing on this side, cut over here. Right there is our tuber. I really love these small little ones here. Super easy. This is just so much fun. Remember how earlier in the video I said that I'm going to take some examples that definitely should not grow based off of the traditional rules and see what I can do with them? This is one. So see this one here? It's just like spinning free and dangling. That's kind of broken away from the eye of the tuber that we're supposed to get. But I am still going to take this and try and grow it just to see if it will do it. That way I know for future cases just how far I can push the limits of these little tubers, because sometimes you never know. Oh, a big one here that broke off. I don't know if that's going to take. It is so satisfying doing this. go. Ooh, we got a double hitter. Let's take that right off there. And that is about it, because the rest of these look to be in really, really rough shape. They're pretty soft, and I don't think they're going to survive whatsoever. But out of that one Dahlia tuber, we've got all these. Lots of other ones. So that's our goal. Good. I got a whole bunch more Dahlia tubers to cut up, but I want to show you right now, how do we take care of these from this point on? How do we plant them? How do we grow them? What are these sprouts that you're talking about? Well, let's take a look. Over here in our grow area, we're going to be putting them down here in our raised beds that I built. They're super tubs, McCourt super tubs, super simple and easy. Got a video on that. But I got to give a shout out to Spider Farmer for the SF600 and Active Grow for their lights here. They've been doing an incredible job on the plants, and I'm very excited to see how the Active Grow does with these propagations for the dahlias. I will have the links to these in the description below, of course, if you would like to help support the channel. So with these dahlia tubers, what are we going to do next? Well, it's super easy. First thing we have to do is let them cure overnight, maybe even 2 days if you want to be extra precautious about it before we put them into the soil. Make sure that your dahlia eye is not wet at all. All that moisture has to precipitate off of it, and then has to be completely cured. So like if you touch this right here, touch that end, that should be really totally dry by the time you plant this. So just give it a couple of days, just like you would with a succulent or anything like that. And then we're going to plant it in the soil. Now, I'm sure you're all well aware of the power of exponential growth. We're gonna demonstrate just how powerful this can be with our plants as well. So we took a single dahlia tuber, divided that up. I've got about 10 other tubers from it. From those 10 tubers, I could either plant them into the ground, just like this. I want a little bit sticking up there. Plant it in the ground and grow it, and I would have one dahlia from that. So my single dahlia would turn into 10. But with my 10 other dahlia tubers, what we're going to be experimenting with downstairs, and what we're going to be doing, I've done this in the past, I got a video on it, we'll link down below as well on how to propagate your dahlia sprouts, but I just gave it up there. We're going to be growing dahlia sprouts with these. So what happens then is I put these into the soil like this. I want that eye of the tuber sticking up out of the ground just ever so slightly, just above it. I mean, you can stick it up higher if you want to. But then what we do is plant them like this. I can fill up this entire thing with our dahlia tubers. And what's going to happen is from each of these, I get sprouts that come up, which I can propagate. Then I could probably get 10 to 15 sprouts from each one of these as well. So there we've got over 100 dahlia plants from one single tuber that we grew just last year. Now, I don't know about you, but I would say that's pretty incredible. And if we're looking to fill up our garden space with more flowers and plants, you don't always have to go to the store down the road. You can do a lot of propagation and exponential growth with your plants right downstairs in your own basement or in a greenhouse if you got one. You can even do this during the year outside if you would like. Whatever shoe fits, you might as well wear it, but at the end of the day, we are growing, we are having fun, and we are getting more plants in our backyard. With the tubers, now that they're in the soil, what we've got to do is just make sure that it stays a little bit more on the moist side. We don't want them to dry out completely. What that really is going to look like for me is a watering once a week down here in the basement. I'm not going to do once every 2 weeks. I'm going to move it up to once a week. I will be watering them. Keep an eye out for stuff like mold or black spots on your dahlias. That's going to be a surefire way of knowing that that dahlia is struggling or might have some sort of disease that you don't want propagating onto your other tubers. So keep an eye out for stuff like that. Water maybe once a week. Don't let the soil dry out because we are growing sprouts with these. We are growing essentially like a whole new plant. We want to make sure that we keep that moisture in the soil. If it dries out, it's not going to be good. and lots of light. Of course, lots of light. These active grows will do an incredible job. I am sure of it. That's about it. I want to thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode. I'm sorry it's been so long since we made one. We are going to get back into the grind of this. I've been putting out more short videos for you on every other day basis or something like that, so we can get some content out. I think I'm going to continue with that because I've gotten some great results with the views on that. We've got lots of cool experiments going on with a couple of different aquariums in our plants and propagating and growing more plants in there, believe it or not. So that's going to be an upcoming video. Very cool stuff going on. Very excited for 2023. I think it's going to be an incredible year for the gardening community, for my family, for my community around me, and our church family as well. All kinds of things. I think 2023 is hopefully going to be a very good year. I know that it's just harder overall to make good, healthy decisions in your life if you are struggling living paycheck to paycheck. So I'm just praying that 2023 can shape up for a lot of us out there. I know that there's a lot of people struggling. My prayers go out to anybody in need every single day. Me and my family and kids, we pray for anybody out there who is in need of God's wisdom, grace, mercy, love, provisions, whatever it might be, whatever we're struggling with on a day-to-day basis. My prayer goes out to each and every one of you. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode, and we'll see you in the next one.